Hello everybody, I'm Dan Murrell here with a deep dive into the latest drama surrounding the Paramount Skydance merger and why it may spell the end for some comedy icons that for decades have made Paramount their home. Now, I've covered Paramount's long search for a buyer and their pending merger with Skydance on the channel before, and it was just over a year ago that the companies announced an $8 billion merger plan that would see David Ellison taking over from Sherry Redstone as CEO of the new company. Well, 1 year later, the merger is still waiting for government approval, and with a change in presidential administrations, a CBS News lawsuit that was controversially settled, major negotiations with the creators of South Park, and real questions as to what Paramount and Skydance will have to do in order to get the go-ahead from the FCC, all coming to a head at the same time, questions have now arisen about the future of several landmark comedy franchises that currently live under the Paramount umbrella. So let's take them on one at a time. First, we have Stephen Colbert and The Late Show on CBS. The Late Show began in 1993 after David Letterman's very public rift with NBC and Jay Leno over who would take over The Tonight Show from Johnny Carson, and Colbert took the slot in 2015 following Letterman's retirement. In an announcement that caught many people off guard last week, CBS announced that The Late Show would end next May when Colbert's contract expires, and that the show itself will not continue, ending CBS's presence in late-night television and leaving Jimmy Kimmel Live and The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon as the only network shows airing at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time. This was especially surprising because Colbert has long been the number one rated show in his time slot, but ad revenue from late-night network television has decreased reportedly by 50% over the last several years, and CBS insiders have claimed in the media that despite its ratings success, Colbert's show is losing the network tens of millions of dollars per year. Despite having the highest ratings, The Late Show actually brings in less advertising revenue than The Tonight Show, though more than Jimmy Kimmel Live and other late-night shows. And there have been reductions in late-night programming across the board, from NBC cutting The Tonight Show from 5 new shows to 4 new shows a week, to CBS canceling After Midnight. And there's heavy speculation that Jimmy Kimmel will retire when his contract expires next year, at which point it's unlikely that ABC will invest heavily in a new show. However, it also can't be ignored that Colbert's cancellation comes on the heels of a controversial settlement between CBS News and President Donald Trump regarding a segment that aired last year on the news program 60 Minutes, where Trump claimed that the show had deceptively edited an interview with then presidential candidate Kamala Harris. Trump sued Paramount for $20 billion, and the network settled the suit for $16 million earlier this month. Critics of the settlement have said that CBS should have fought the lawsuit to protect its news division, and they believe it could be seen as a form of bribery or capitulation, given that the Trump administration does hold the power to approve, delay, or reject the pending merger of Paramount, CBS News' parent company, and Skydance. Because this deal would involve the transfer of broadcast licenses for TV stations currently owned by CBS and Paramount, the merger has to be approved by the FCC, which has been run by Brendan Carr since President Trump took office in January. The FCC normally has an informal window of 180 days to review and approve media mergers and transactions, but the Paramount Skydance merger is now approaching 250 days under review. One of the harshest critics of Paramount's recent settlement was Stephen Colbert, who on this past Monday's show heavily criticized his parent company and categorized the settlement as, quote, a big fat bribe paid out by the network in order to get the merger approved by the FCC. 3 days later, CBS announced that Colbert's show was canceled. And honestly, I think this is a very murky situation. You can't deny that linear television, including late-night talk shows, have been on the decline in the era of streaming. And if The Late Show was costing the network tens of millions of dollars per year, that puts a big target on its back with a pending merger. As thousands of unemployed people in Hollywood can tell you, cost-cutting is the top priority anytime two companies merge. However, the announcement of Colbert's cancellation is, at best, a horrible choice in timing for CBS and Paramount. It is impossible to cancel someone like Colbert, who's been heavily critical of the current administration, on the same week where he also accused the network of bribing that administration to push this merger through, without raising questions about whether this was a politically motivated move and not a financial one. If this was, in fact, a purely financial decision, Paramount could not have picked a worse time to announce it. I mean, even if the timing was predetermined, the optics are terrible. If this was, as Paramount disputes, a partially political decision or a way that they think they could curry favor in order to get the merger expedited or approved, then it raises serious concerns about just how much the federal government is willing to use its power as leverage for companies to suppress voices that the administration disagrees with. This also raises questions about the future of another comedy series owned by Paramount, the show where Stephen Colbert got his start, The Daily Show, which is hosted on Mondays by Jon Stewart and is also extremely critical of the Trump administration. Stewart also blasted Paramount's settlement, calling it, quote, shameful and devastating to journalism. Even before Colbert's cancellation, there was speculation that David Ellison and Skydance could get rid of both Stewart and Colbert in order to help push this merger toward FCC approval. And following The Late Show's cancellation, Stewart has said that he's heard nothing about his or The Daily Show's future, but that he's prepared to move on should he also be axed from Comedy Central. Should Stewart and or The Daily Show also be canceled, it would raise even more questions about the political motivations of taking these shows off the air, especially because earlier this month it was announced that Stewart's Daily Show had its biggest ratings in the advertiser-friendly 18 to 49 demographic in a decade. However, as Paramount says was the case with The Late Show, ratings aren't everything, and if The Daily Show is deemed to be too expensive for the amount of money that it brings in, then it could be on the chopping block as well. But the future of another landmark Comedy Central show is also up in the air, and while it is directly tied to the merger, this one seems to have everything to do with money and nothing to do with politics. The creators of South Park, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, are currently in negotiations for an extension of their overall deal with Paramount, and the deal on the table is reportedly valued at $3 billion over 10 years, a substantial increase over the pair's previous deal, which expires in 2027. Parker and Stone are in a very rare position when it comes to the amount of control that they have over South Park and its future. Paramount owns the show, but the streaming rights are co-held by Paramount and Parker and Stone's South Park Studios. Their first streaming deal was signed back in 2007, when Netflix was still known mostly as a disc-by-mail service. And because they were able to negotiate streaming rights so early, Parker and Stone's terms are much better than you would see in a contract today. They have the final say on where South Park streams, and they reportedly also receive 50% of all streaming revenue. Prior to their current agreement, they hosted all of the South Park episodes for free on their own website, supported by ads. And Skydance is reportedly not happy with the terms that Parker and Stone are asking for from Paramount. Among other things, Skydance is said to prefer a 5-year deal worth more money per year instead of a 10-year deal that would limit their ability to control the show's future. But Parker and Stone allege that Skydance and potential incoming Paramount president Jeff Shell have overstepped their boundaries. In a lawsuit filed last month, Parker and Stone's lawyers accused Shell and Skydance of interfering with their negotiations by encouraging studios like Warner Bros. Discovery and Netflix, who are free to offer deals of their own to compete with Paramount's renewal offer, to soften what they're offering in order to give Paramount an edge in the negotiations. This includes offering a shorter deal term and an exclusive streaming window on Paramount Plus. In other words, Parker and Stone are saying that Skydance is colluding with other studios to offer deal terms that, instead of weakening Paramount's position or forcing them into offering better terms, instead strengthen Paramount's position and weaken the potential upside for Parker and Stone. Now, if Paramount were doing this directly, it could very well be defined as self-dealing, which could be proven illegal. But Skydance doesn't technically own Paramount yet, and they maintain that as prospective buyers, they have the rights of oversight and approval for all of these long-term deals, and they're not bound by the same legal boundaries as they would be if they already own the company. Regardless, in their lawsuit, Parker and Stone say that if Skydance continues interfering in the negotiation process, they will protect their rights and, quote, discharge any obligations we may have to the public. AKA, hey, cut it out or we quit. South Park is done, and we'll take the streaming rights with us. Amid all of this drama, South Park is supposed to be launching its latest season this week. The season 27 premiere, which was originally scheduled for July 9th, was delayed just days before it was set to air. But there is, as of now, serious doubt about whether that will actually happen or what the show will actually be saying if it does hit the airwaves. In a very typical response, Parker and Stone posted on social media the day that the premiere delay was announced, quote, "This merger is a show and it's fucking up South Park. We're at the studio working on new episodes and we hope the fans get to see them somehow." Complicating this is an already convoluted streaming situation involving South Park, HBO Max, and Paramount Plus. In 2019, Parker and Stone signed a deal valued at a reported $500 million, making HBO Max the U.S. streaming home of all past seasons of South Park, as well as the home of any future seasons through this year. Later, as they began the launch and rollout of Paramount Plus, Paramount renewed their deal with Parker and Stone for several $100 million more, with the pair agreeing to produce 6 more seasons of the show while giving Paramount Plus exclusive streaming rights to 14 new South Park specials separate from their individual seasons. Since the HBO Max deal took effect in 2020, South Park has released just 3 official seasons, consisting of 14 total episodes that HBO Max has the exclusive license to stream. But in that same time, Parker and Stone have produced 3 specials consisting of 7 total episodes, which are exclusive to Paramount Plus. Warner Bros. Discovery, the parent company of HBO Max, sued Paramount and South Park Studios in 2023, alleging deceptive business practices, saying that Parker and Stone are double dipping at their expense, producing material for Paramount Plus instead of new seasons that would stream on HBO Max. That lawsuit is still winding its way through the legal system. While litigation is ongoing regarding that previous streaming deal, it has also now expired. Though South Park is still available to stream on HBO Max in the United States, thanks to a temporary agreement pending whatever deal Parker and Stone sign next. Internationally, however, Paramount Plus has pulled all episodes of South Park off its streaming service in many countries, citing the expiration of the show's international licensing deal and ongoing negotiations. So let's say that the new season of South Park debuts as planned this week. It would air on Comedy Central as usual here in the US, but if the temporary agreement with HBO Max were to expire or be revoked, then it would not stream here in the US on HBO Max, and if a new agreement isn't reached with Paramount, it wouldn't stream on Paramount Plus in the US either, nor would it stream in the multiple international markets where the show has already been pulled from the Paramount Plus service. Basically, if you couldn't watch it on cable in the US, it would be nearly impossible to watch the new season of South Park through any legal method in many parts of the world. So what we have here is a big mess. A street fight between Paramount, its potential buyer Skydance, and 2 of the most stubborn and unpredictable creatives in Hollywood. The only leverage Paramount may have is the existence of an $800 million loan that Stone and Parker took out from the private equity firm Carlyle Group in 2023, using South Park Studios' assets as backing for the loan. Should Parker and Stone's deal fall through, the IP would potentially take a hit in value, and they could lose the ability to keep paying that loan. This is all very complicated, and it's very possible that an 11th hour solution could come as the clock ticks toward Tuesday's scheduled premiere. Maybe something's happened since I recorded this video. But all sides seem pretty entrenched, and a sustained legal battle or negotiation process could keep South Park either hard or impossible to find, or maybe spell the end of the show entirely if Parker and Stone walk away. Taking all of these developments together, what was once a sparkling roster of comedy programming across Paramount's different networks now looks to be in serious jeopardy, with Colbert off the air next year and the future of The Daily Show and South Park in question. From the very beginning, Paramount's attempted sale has been fraught with bad blood, lawsuits, accusations of double dealing, and endless delays. And with a president who has sued and publicly criticized many of the shows and personalities whom Paramount counts as their most popular, and new ownership that appears to prioritize cost-cutting over long-standing relationships, the question becomes just how far will Skydance go to get this merger done? With Colbert gone, will Paramount also fire Jon Stewart if they believe it can help this merger close? Will they drive away Trey Parker and Matt Stone, effectively ending South Park in order to save money? There's no way of telling right now. But should all of these things come to pass, I wonder just what will be left for Skydance to take over after the dust has settled, and how many people will be willing to buy what they're selling. So that's what's going on with the Paramount Skydance merger and many of its most high-profile comedy personalities. What do you think will happen? Will there be an 11th hour deal that will keep South Park on the air and streaming around the world? Will Jon Stewart stay on the air? Do you think that Colbert's cancellation was a financial decision? Let me know down in the comments below, and as always, stay tuned right here on the channel for the latest in movie and entertainment news, box office reviews, and more. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.